No. 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 Why are the cloaks in World of Warcraft so awful? You know what I mean, right? There are so many cloaks in this game, and there's hardly a handful that I would ever even consider using. Look at this one. Who would ever use this? Okay, maybe it's unfair to judge the ones that have really old textures, but it's not just the textures that bother me most of the time. Maybe this is one of those things that someone not that well versed in 3D modeling and animation, like me, will not get, but, well, look at this. The NPC models are allowed to have these large cloaks with folds and volume. Artists get to have this, while the players get the equivalent of a bath towel, or 2 strips of toilet paper stapled to their backs. We get these awful flat textures, usually with an absolutely hideous border around the cape's edges. Actually, I take it back. The capes don't look like bath towels, they look like carpets. Sure, in the case of my character, I wouldn't even consider any of these cloaks in the first place, but let me tell you what I might actually consider using, if it was available. Oh yes! Now there's a cloak that I would actually consider wearing. Just look at the fur, it's so much more impressive than the player cloaks that it hurts! I would so wear that thing. Oh, but it's NPC only. Once again. I honestly think that the biggest problem with the cloaks in this game is that they do not have any actual models with depth. They're these flat surfaces. Like, how much more boring can you be? The textures are, well, not to my taste, since I usually play characters that would wear this rather than this. But as an artist of sorts, I can appreciate the effort that the texture artists have put in. The 3D artists, though, they've slacked on the cloaks. Surely these seasoned 3D artists and animators would have the capabilities to add proper meshes to the current cloak designs, and then have them stretch and bend in accordance to the physics that the current flat cloaks follow. I don't even think they have physics. It seems to just be predetermined animations corresponding to specific movements. Okay, fine. I'll not pretend to understand how 3D animation works in WoW, but this is a pretty big thing that the developers have ignored for a long ass time. The armor design in WoW has over the years become more and more complex. What used to be these flat textures plastered on your character's model have over the years become more and more pronounced, with proper models taking their place. Characters have become so much more fleshed out and real as a direct result. Honestly, having just a little bit more depth and detail that comes from having these extra protrusions coming from your character goes a long way. Chest pieces, helms, shoulders, gloves, boots, belts. All of these gear pieces have set a standard where the new ones will have a real 3D model to them, with a lot more detail and depth to them. And they look very good as a result. But then there's the black sheep of the gear slots, wrists and cloaks. I kind of understand the neglect that the wrist slots get. I mean, they are hidden under gauntlets, gloves and sleeves 95% of the time. I don't think I've ever heard anyone exclaim, "Yo dude, you see the wrists on the new raid set? They're epic, bruh!" I don't know why I did a cliche dude bro. I don't think anyone liked that place, wow. I'd be very surprised. Yeah, no. That I understand. But cloaks? They're always right there. This is how you play the game. And the thing that you'll be staring at is this basic ass ugly flat texture straight from the year 2004. The simple fact that they have never improved the cloak design, given it some depth and like a proper model, when it's the thing that you'll be looking at most of the time, is just insane to me. Okay. I'm doing it again. Let's lighten things up for a moment. Let's think positively. As much as I do like to bitch and moan, the WoW developers have been heading into a vaguely right direction. When the game started introducing these heritage armor sets, I was pretty pleased. These sets are absolutely beautiful, for the most part, and have amazing pieces that you can incorporate into role-playing sets. My favorite has to be the Magar. Just look at this! Whoa! Now this I can appreciate. But, to stay on topic, what I was most pleased by was the fact that some of these sets were starting to experiment with the cloak slot. I don't quite remember if there have been other backslot pieces in previous sets that have been trying a non-cloak design before, but these were when the idea started to feel like, you know, a thing that we can expect in the future. Armor sets having these little variations. I mean, the backslot doesn't always have to be a cloak, right? There are so many items and quests in the game that give you these things on your back that would be ecstatically welcomed if we had the freedom to transmog them on us permanently. We have the honorary brewmaster keg that gives you a massive keg on your back, perfect for a drunken monk, or just a wandering ale merchant who'll pop up at any public event, serving flagons on the go.
Lasts 5 minutes, cooldown of 1 hour.
We have the Burning Blade banner toy, which gives you the Burning Blade banner on your back. A thing that any blade master would love to have permanently. And then there's one of my favorites, the Vile Fumigator's mask, which comes with a gas mask and a plague container on the back. The only issue is you can't take the mask off without the canisters coming off as well, as they are bound together forever. Honestly, the mask should already be transmogable. But it's not. These examples, apart from the gas mask, are toys with a needlessly harsh cooldown. Meaning that you can't have these things on your character continuously. It's very typical Blizzard behavior. And there have already been instances of sleazy application of these non-traditional back items that people crave, basically being used as a bait. Oh, nice try. You're not going to tempt me with a backpack, no matter how useful it might be. Not today, Blizzard. Not today. Well, aside from that, I've been cautiously optimistic about the experimentation that is being done with the backslot items. It gives me hope that one day we'll have a wide selection of items that we can put on our backs, and other places on our characters. This actually leads us very nicely to something else that I wanted to address. Despite my general apathy about the themes for Shadowlands, I have been checking out some of the data mining that has been posted online. Truthfully, it's quite hard to avoid when your recommendations are littered with Warcraft videos. One of the central concepts in Shadowlands is the 4 different factions and the covenant system tied to them. As far as I understand, you'll pledge your allegiance to the faction of your choice and receive skills, buffs, mounts, and probably most importantly to roleplayers at least, armor sets. These armor sets will have 3 different appearances that correspond to your reputation, story progression, and level, I guess. I don't know, I'm not exactly sure. What's important is this thing here. Yes, more of those fancy back pieces that I just talked about. Very good. These ornamental back pieces, just like the rest of the gear, evolve and become more intricate as you advance in the Shadowlands content. Yes, it is very impressive, isn't it? But it does remind me of something. Something ancient and forgotten. We must once again cast our eyes backwards in time, to that cursed and hated bastard child of the WoW expansions, Warlords of Draenor. In Warlords, the developers had grand visions for things that they wanted to implement. These ranged from raids to whole other continents to something that roleplayers and fans of customization would have found worth more than anything else. This shelved idea was known as class accessories, and it is exactly what it sounds like. This would have been a series of ornamental accessories that corresponded to your class and specialization. Rogues might have belts of poison vials, throwing knives, or lockpicks. A paladin might have their tome of holy scripture at their hip. And a hunter might have a quiver of arrows. Here's a funny little tidbit for you. I imported my WoW character into Blender and set it up with bones to allow me to pose and play around with the character. You know, outside the limited range of movements in the game. The first thing that I added to my character when I had the freedom to play around with the models was to give him a quiver. So, yeah, the fact that a few years ago they had a system of class-specific items that would have included that quiver that I longed for is painful, considering that it got shelved. Why am I bringing this up? Well, I just thought it was pretty funny, so... It's funny that they're experimenting with these armor sets that evolve and become more complex as you go, and yet they haven't even bothered to give us the class accessory system that is so tantalizing in its simplicity. Oh, but I get it. Quivers, books and pouches are not very marketable. You can't really go on full blast about giving players the ability to put a quiver on their back when they used to have them. Doesn't change the fact that I would have much preferred the class accessories over these gaudy abominations. So often, when I mention quivers, I'll get the, "Oh, there's that hunter artifact from Legion that gives you a quiver, why don't you use that?" That is not a solution to the problem at hand. That is dodging the issue. I want the freedom to choose my weapon, not be forced to carry around some goddamn light show just for the luxury of having a quiver. I want my quiver. Whenever I get into combat with my character Zolkan here, I occasionally glance at him, hunched over, sending arrow after arrow into melee. At those moments, I watch as the character loses an arrow, reaches back, and pulls an arrow out of thin air. It's one of those pet peeves that just eats away at you. And maybe I'm just a little annoyed that this idea for evolving gear, was instead put towards something so not me. That is the epitome of selfishness, isn't it? It doesn't benefit me, so I hate it. I'm still just sane enough to see that. Hypocrisy. But, well, I suppose we'll have to see and wait where this system goes from here. Who knows, maybe the devs will dust off the class accessory system and properly implement it. Maybe they could even expand the accessory system to include professions. You'd have miners walking around with a pick and a lantern on their person, alchemists with pouches and bottles, an enchanter with arcane paraphernalia on their belt, scroll tubes, daggers, furs, skulls, voodoo charms. Truly, the possibilities for ornamental accessories are as vast as the World of Warcraft itself. I personally would welcome it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.